Good afternoon and welcome to science lesson. And on the science lesson, the last lesson, we were touching on the functions and parts of respiratory system. We had tried earlier on to see the organs that are involved in respiratory system. And then we had seen the nose and what we observed concerning the nose, because the nose is the organ that we use to inhale, to take in air, inhale in air, and we are saying the nose, it has two nostrils. So if you look, your nose has got two openings, it has got two nostrils, and inside these nostrils, we had said that the nostrils have hair and some mucus within the nostrils. So the functions or the work of this hair that is located within the nostrils, we had said that it is to remove some particles that are present within the air that is being inhaled. So we said that they trap the dust particles from the air that is being trapped from the air, and we ensure the mucus and the air within the nostrils, they do ensure that only clean air is allowed to pass through. So the functions of the nose is to filter the air, to remove the dust particles, and so that the air that goes to the lung is clean. So we are saying if a human being is breathing, it is better you breathe using the nostrils, because we had said the nostrils are well equipped to ensure that the air that is getting inside our lungs is filtered. So if you decide to breathe using your mouth, it is dangerous because the mouth is not equipped in any way to remove dust particles from the air that you are inhaling. So the lungs will find it very rough if you decide to breathe when you are using your mouth instead of the nostrils. Again, the nostrils, the nostrils open, and they have the nasal passages, and we had said these nasal passages, they ensure that when the air is passing through these nasal passages, that air is warmed. So when the air is warmed and moistened, and before it enters the trachea, we know from the nostrils normally what they do, they ensure that they filter the air. After filtering the air and making that air moist and warm, then that air is taken to the trachea. We had said trachea is the windpipe, and the trachea is made up of some cartilage, is made up of some rings. These rings are made up from the cartilage. So we had said the trachea also, it has its work. It takes the air from the nose to the lungs. And what the trachea does, it has some C kind of shape openings that are made from the cartilage, as I had said. And we had said that this trachea also subdivides into two branches, and these two branches, one of them is called the bronchus. We had said bronchus, and in plural we call bronchi in plural, but singular is bronchus. So it is subdivided into two bronchus. One bronchi goes to the right lungs, another one goes to the left lungs. We say a human being has got one pair of lungs. So one pair of lungs, one lung is located on the right side, and the other lung is located on the right side. So we are saying this trachea subdivides into two bronchus, and each bronchi again goes ahead to subdivide itself further into bronchioles. So we are saying, what is bronchi? We had said that each bronchus enters the lungs in each side and further divides into finer branches branches called bronchioles. Bronchioles, we had mentioned that. And each bronchiole ends in many air sacs. There are many air sacs that are located at the end of each bronchioles. Bronchioles, it has got many air sacs, and we had said that these air sacs are also called alveoli. Alveoli. There are many air sacs that are located. These air sacs, we call them alveoli, and they are the ones which carry out gaseous exchange. They pick the air that is within the lungs, they take in oxygen, and at the same time, they release out. The carbon dioxide is diffused out, and the diffused out carbon dioxide is taken together with some other gases. Of course, some percentage of oxygen is still released. If the air you are inhaling is 21% oxygen, the air that you will exhale now will be 16% oxygen, meaning the close to 5% will have been consumed by these alveoli, which have got a good supply of red blood cells that carry oxygenated blood. They carry oxygen because it has got the red blood cells or the red pigments. They are red and they are well adapted to ensure that they trap oxygen. Once they trap oxygen, then they carry that oxygenated blood to different parts of the body so that respiration process is carried out, where the energy is manufactured, what is there, and then carbon dioxide is released from the lungs to the trachea, back to the nose, to the nostrils, and then to the nose, and then outside. Now, we are saying, we had talked about that alveoli, and then we came to another organ that is important, and this organ is called the lungs. We had said this concerning the lungs, that human body has one pair of lungs. There are two lungs. It has got one pair of lungs, and we said one lung is on the left side and the other lung is on the right side. Then we had said that there is in the chest cavity, we talk of the chest cavity. We know the chest is protected by ribs. Ribs are there to protect the lungs so that these organs called lungs cannot be injured anyhow. So ribs are there and they do protect these lungs. So we are saying ribs do give protection to the lungs. Yes, we have said that. And each lung has got 1 million of air sacs. Each lung has got 1 million of air sacs. If you remember, we had drawn a symbol. We had drawn a symbol diagram of how this respiratory system look like, right from the nose to the lungs. We had also shown where the diaphragm is located. It differentiates the chest cavity from the abdomen, from the abdomen. So diaphragm is in between. When it is dome shaped, it enables the lungs to contract and to ensure that now you exhale. You remove the air that is within the lung, but when it flattens, and then when it flattens, and then the ribs expand, and even when the ribs expand, the lungs expand. They take in more air or more oxygen that is now diffused within the alveoli. So we are saying that the ribs do protect the lungs, and the lungs are well equipped with a lot of air sacs, and this air sacs is where the gaseous exchange takes place, where oxygen is taken in, at the same time carbon dioxide is taken out. Now, we were now also trying to advance to another organ that we shall discuss. Is called the diaphragm, and we had said this concerning the diaphragm. What is the diaphragm? This is a thin muscular sheet at the bottom of the chest cavity. We are saying, what is the diaphragm? This is a tiny or a thin muscular sheet. It is a thin muscular sheet located at the bottom. Located at the bottom of the chest cavity. So we are saying a diaphragm is a thin muscular sheet that is located at the bottom of the chest cavity. This is the chest cavity. So just at the bottom, between the chest and the abdomen, in between there, we have a thin muscular sheet called the diaphragm. It is very important when it operates together with the lungs. It is very important in exhaling and inhaling the air. Breathing out and breathing in the air that we have, the diaphragm plays a very important role. So we are saying the diaphragm separates the chest cavity from the abdomen. The diaphragm separates, this is where the diaphragm is located within the body. So it separates the chest cavity from the abdomen. Below the diaphragm, we have the abdomen, and then above the diaphragm, we have the chest cavity where the lungs are located. So we are saying the diaphragm helps in breathing by allowing the lungs to expand and to contract. So the major functions that the diaphragm does is by allowing the lungs to contract. If the lungs contract, then you are exhaling. You are moving the air that is within the lungs outside to the bronchioles, to the bronchus, and then later on to the trachea, lastly to the nostrils, and then the nose. So the air is exhaled, it is removed out. That one happens normally when the diaphragm takes a dome-shaped form. It gums up. But when it flattens, it is when now the lungs are able to inhale, to pick in more air. You inhale so that you find that your lungs are expanding. So we are saying breathing is also called inhalation. Inhalation. Let me write that term. We are saying breathing. Breathing is also called inhalation. Inhalation. This is a scientific word and scientific term that we are supposed to be acquainted with. We are saying breathing is also called inhalation, and or inspiration. Inhalation or inspiration, meaning inspiration. These two terms are used. They are used to describe breathing. Breathing is you are taking in air. When you are taking in air, you are inhaling. From inhaling, we can get inhalation. Then also you are saying inspiration. Inspiration also, you are also another term trying to explain the process of taking in air. Inspiration. Then breathing out is also called exhalation. Breathing out is also called exhalation. Breathing out is also called exhalation or expiration. There is also another term, or expiration. So breathing out is also called exhalation or expiration. These are good terms that we need to be acquainted with when we're talking about breathing, and when we're dealing with the breathing system. That is very important. If you don't breathe, then your life will cease. You will cease to exist and be confirmed dead if you fail to breathe, because when you fail to breathe, then your heart will not beat, and if your heart stops, then you will be confirmed dead. So we are saying breathing out is also called exhalation or expiration. So these are terms that we can use when you are breathing in. This breathing in is also called exhalation, and breathing out is called exhalation. exhalation. Now, we have seen these breathing, respiratory organs that are very important, right from the nose. We have seen the lungs, we have seen the diaphragm, and so forth. And we have seen what happens to enable this gases exchange, to get the oxygen, to get the carbon dioxide, and what transpires. Today, we want to observe the digestive system. We know about the digestive system, but today we shall see the digestive system in details. We shall have information, and then we shall have a diagram so that it can assist in understanding what transpired in digestive system. Because when we talk of the digestive system, digestion starts from the mouth. Maybe the mouth is there to bite, to grind, to chew, and so forth. But when we talk of digestive system, we say digestion is the process of breaking down food into smaller and soluble particles. Maybe for our better definition of what digestion is, we have said digestion is the breaking down digestion is breaking down food into small particles. Digestion is the breaking down of food into small particles that can be absorbed, that can be, small particles into smaller particles, and that are soluble, that can be easily absorbed, or that can be easily used by the body. So we're saying digestion is the breaking down of food into smaller particles that can be absorbed into the body. So what happens in digestive system? What the digestive system does, it ensures that the food that is received through the mouth is made to be in a form that can easily be absorbed by the body. So we are saying digestion is the process of breaking down. Digestion is the process, the word process is important, is the process of breaking down food into smaller particles that can be absorbed by the body. The food we take is broken down into various. The food we take is broken down by various digestive juices. So we have digestive juices. Even right just in the mouth. In the mouth we have the salival gland. What the salival gland does, produces saliva, and this saliva, it enables this particular food to be in a better form to be digested. They have some kind of enzyme that can work on food to enable that food to be digested, to be in a form that can be digested easily. So we are saying the digestion takes place in alimentary canal. And we are saying alimentary canal begins from the mouth all the way down to the exit. So we are saying the digestion takes place in the alimentary canal. It is a long coiled tube. What is the alimentary canal? It is a long coiled tube starting from the mouth and ending at the anus. So we are saying the alimentary canal is also called gut. We are talking about alimentary canal. also called gut. And when we are talking about this alimentary canal, there are many organs that are involved in alimentary canal. We shall mention some. Then what is going to assist us to understand further is the symbol diagram that we are going to have. It will be able to show us what exactly is the alimentary canal. So digestion of food starts in the mouth of a human being. So digestion of food starts in the mouth, and the digestion of food ends in the small intestines. So when you talk of a small intestine, it's just part of the alimentary canal. So we can just mention few organs that make up the alimentary canal. The alimentary canal, make up the alimentary canal. One, it includes the mouth. We have the mouth. Then from the mouth, we have the gullet. The gullet, we call it the esophagus. Just from the mouth, we have that trachea. This is what we're calling the gullet, the esophagus. Then from the esophagus, we have the stomach. The stomach, the food can remain within the stomach for 2 to 4 hours. So from the stomach, then we have the duodenum. Duodenum is a very small portion of the alimentary canal. Then from the duodenum, we have the small intestine. Small intestine is almost 7 meters long if you want to measure the small intestine. And another name that we use to refer to small intestine, we call it the ileum. And we are saying ileum, another name for small intestine is ileum, and is about 7 meters long. 7 meters long. So small intestine, and we had said that digestion, when we talk of digestion, it ends in the small intestine. There are different enzymes that are secreted for digestion of particular types of foods that are present within the intestine. So we are saying that from the small intestine, the ileum, we have the large intestine, and another name for large intestine is called the colon. We have the large intestine, and we are calling it colon. So another name for large intestine is colon. Then from the colon, we have the rectum. Then rectum, we end with the anus. What happens with the rectum? It holds undigested food particles for a short while, and then that food is digested. There's a process of removing the undigested food from the body. We call that process digestion. Digestion, where the food is removed from the body. So we should know that the alimentary canal have different organs that play very important role. For instance, we have the liver, and the liver is famously known for production of bile, and this bile is stored in the gallbladder. It is very important it plays an important role in the digestion of food. So it connects itself to the duodenum just after the stomach. After the stomach, we have the duodenum. Now the duodenum is where now this bile is released into food for digestion of some fat foods and so forth. So you find that the proteins will be digested when this bile is released. Then from there, we also have another organ called the pancreas that produces pancreatic juice and is also responsible for digestion of some of the nutrients within the food. So for us to understand this process of alimentary canal, we are going to have a simple diagram depicting what an alimentary canal is, so that when we have further discussion on alimentary canal, you can have a simple picture of how alimentary canal is. We have said alimentary canal is long, right, starting from the mouth to the exit, the anus. All it's just a chain long form of an intestine coming up from the trachea and so forth. So we can have this diagram so that it can assist us in understanding what digestive system is. Human digestive system. Human digestive system is as follows. What we want to show is from the gullet. It's very important. So that is what we're calling the gullet, or the esophagus, we shall name it, or we also call it the food pipe, because that is the place the food will have to pass through. Then when it passes through, it goes through the stomach. So there is a stomach. From the stomach we have the duodenum. Then from the duodenum we have the small intestine. Then here we have the large intestine. We have it like so. Then we can have our pancreas somewhere here. Roughly what this is a simple diagram of we are trying to have a simple diagram of a digestive system. Now we want to show the important things that are very relevant. One, we know what is happening. We have said this is our esophagus. This is our esophagus. We also call it the gullet or the food pipe. It has many names. This one that's running down. Then this one is the liver. The liver is responsible for the production of the bile. And that bile, when it's produced, is stored in this organ that we are calling the gallbladder. Then we have this one becomes the stomach. When the food is digested, it finds itself in the stomach first. So when you follow our alimentary canal, the esophagus will lead us to the stomach first. Then from the stomach, it will lead us to this other, we are calling the duodenum. Duodenum. And you are saying the duodenum, yes, the duodenum is one of the, after this, the stomach, we have the duodenum. Then this organ here that is responsible for producing pancreatic juice is the pancreas. That is the pancreas. Then from the pancreas, what we are having here, we call it the large intestine. And large intestine, we had said another name for large intestine, we call it the colon. Then these other tiny meandering things, we had said small intestine, they make up to they can be up to 7 meters long. This is small intestine. And another name for small intestine, we said ileum. Then from that we have the rectum. And we said rectum is a place whereby the undigested food is stored for a short while before it is ingested out, before it leaves the alimentary canal. Then this small opening, we are calling that one is the anus. Then, yes, that's the anus. Then the liver. Then from here, it's important that we show that opening is what we call the mouth. So you can see alimentary system begins from the mouth. When the food is taken in, it goes through this opening. The esophagus is long. From the esophagus of the gullet, it goes first to the stomach. From the stomach to the duodenum. And in the duodenum is where the bile is released into the food that is within the duodenum. And when it reaches here down here on the small intestine, there is also the pancreas that releases pancreatic juice. The bile together with the pancreatic juice is to digest the different kinds of nutrients that are within the food. Then we have the small intestine. The small intestine also, digestion takes place. There is a production of hydrochloric acid that kills all the germs. In case there are any germs, there's production of hydrochloric acid and all the germs are killed. And then the small intestines are well adapted with the many blood capillaries. We have the alveoli. They also ensure they have large surface area to enable it to get the nutrients through division, to get nutrients from the small intestine. Then after that, there's no longer digestion, any further digestion. So you can see from the small intestine, it goes back to the large intestine, and all this process of the large intestine. And we're saying the function of the large intestine now here is where it deals with the absorption of salt elements that are within the food will be absorbed in correct portions from the large intestine. Then rectum is there. Then it is ingested through the anus. So with that simple diagram, we can be able to feature how alimentary canal looks like. So we can say this concerning digestion. Digestion in the mouth. Digestion of food starts in the mouth, I had said before. It starts in the mouth, and the mouth itself, it contains the tongue. We have the tongue within the mouth. We have the tongue, we have the teeth, and we have the salivary gland. So The tongue has functions. It plays a role when you have food in your mouth. There is what the tongue does something to the food that you have in your mouth. The teeth is there for cutting and chewing and grinding the food that you have. And salivary gland, they produce saliva that, the saliva has a function to make sure that the food that is within the mouth, they can be in a bolus form so that they can formulate some bolus so that they can be taken down through the esophagus or the gullet. So functions of the teeth, we have said, are known is to tear, to cut, and to grind. It is there to grind food. That becomes the first and primary functions, where the food, once the food has entered the mouth, the teeth is there to tear and to grind that particular food. Then when it comes to the function of the saliva, because this saliva has been produced. It has been produced by the salivary glands that are located within the mouth. So saliva is there to mix with the food, and it helps the digestion of starch. So saliva is there to play one role. It mixes with the food that is within the mouth, and it assists in the digestion of starch. Saliva assists in the digestion of starch, and it also makes food to form some boluses that can be taken down easily through the gullet. So we are saying it makes food particles to stick together. So the food particles that are within the mouth, they stick together forming boluses, and these boluses will be digested easily. They will be taken down through the esophagus easily in a process that we call peristalsis. We shall come there. So we are saying the tongue has taste buds. The tongue has taste buds. So the tongue that we have within our mouth has taste buds. Maybe a human being has close to about approximately 280 taste buds, but as aging process catches up, when you age, these taste buds will not remain the same. They will start reducing. By the time you're old, maybe you will be having very few taste buds, close to 70. And you can not be able now to tell the taste correctly, because now the taste buds that you're having, they're fewer. This can explain why young people can be able to tell whether there is enough sugar in tea. But when people grow old, they will start complaining that this tea is missing sugar, without knowing that it is their taste buds which have died and are reduced in number. Therefore, they are not in a position to give exactly, to give approximate concentration of the sugar that is within the tea. So we are saying the tongue has the taste buds, and it helps in rolling and mixing food with the saliva. Then in the gullet, we are saying the gullet has an opening at the back of the mouth. Gullet is that opening at the back of the mouth, we are saying so, that helps to swallow food in a wave-like manner called peristalsis. The word peristalsis. The word peristalsis is very important. Peristalsis is a term used to describe how our esophagus swallows food. There are some kind of wave-like activities that happens within the esophagus or the gullet when you are swallowing food. And maybe we can have a simple diagram trying to show how peristalsis takes place. For instance, if this is our esophagus, let us imagine that is the gullet, and we shall show some of the particles of food. Let us say those are the particles of food. So these particles of food, depending on the way the peristalsis would be, these particles of food are called bolus. They've got the bolus. So, and what we are describing, this food has to drop down, and we are saying that's our esophagus. The esophagus or the gullet. This is our gullet and this food. So through the peristalsis, the way it shakes and then the food continues down. It's very important, this process. That's how the food is swallowed down. There are some wave-like activities that takes place so that this food is able to be swallowed down nicely through the process called peristalsis. Now we are saying the stomach. Now after the food is swallowed through the esophagus or the gullet, it goes to the stomach. That is the first storage of food. And when the food reaches the stomach, we have that diagram, you can remember how it is. It stays between 2 to 4 hours. Food will stay within the stomach between 2 to 4 hours before that food now is transferred, moves from the stomach to duodenum. So we are saying, what is the stomach? The stomach is a large bag-like structure. It is a large bag-like structure, if those who can remember, whose inner walls have millions of gastric glands. So we are saying within the stomach walls have millions of gastric glands. Gastric glands are very important. So the bag-like structure on the stomach, that's the stomach. It has got millions of glands within the stomach, which produces a gastric juice. It processes the gastric glands. Gastric glands produces gastric juice, and this gastric juice helps in the digestion of proteins. So gastric juice right in the stomach is for digestion of proteins. Is for digestion of proteins. So we can see proteins being digested right from the stomach, digestion of proteins. So proteins are digested in the first storage in a bag-like substance called structure called the stomach. The stomach has got millions of gastric glands, and these gastric glands produces gastric juice that helps in the digestion of proteins. Now gastric juice contains also, the gastric juice contains also hydrochloric acid, and hydrochloric acid is able to kill any germs. Hydrochloric acid kills any germs that can be present within the food particles. That kills any germs that are within the food particles. So any germs that are within the food particles are killed by this hydrochloric acid that is found within the gastric juice. So we are saying all the germs are killed, and the food stays within this bag-like structure called the stomach between 2 to 4 hours. And within these 2 to 4 hours, the protein substances that are present within the food particles are digested. Then from there, we go to duodenum. From the stomach, the food proceeds to the duodenum. And what is duodenum? We are saying duodenum is a short U-shaped tube where food mixes with the bile duct. Those who can remember the bile. The bile is created by the liver, stored in the gallbladder, and the main function of the gallbladder is to release the bile into the food, and this food is located in the duodenum. So we are saying duodenum is a short U-shaped tube where food mixes with the bile, juice from the liver, and pancreatic juice from the pancreas. So in the duodenum, we find that in the duodenum, food mixes with the pancreatic, we find that there is a pancreatic juice. At the same time, there is a bile juice that is produced by the liver and stored in the gallbladder. And what the gallbladder does, it releases the bile into the duodenum. At the same time, the pancreas also releases the pancreatic juice to the same duodenum. They have functions to do. The bile, together with the pancreatic juice, they have a role to play in the duodenum. So we are saying the bile is produced in the liver and stored in the gallbladder. It helps in the digestion of fats and oil. So what the bile does, it assists, it helps in the digestion of the fat nutrients, fats and oil. So all the fats and oil that are food particles that are within the duodenum, then the bile is released to ensure that the fat nutrients and the oil nutrients that are located within the food are digested. That is the work of the bile that is produced, and it is released into the duodenum. We had said the duodenum is a short U-shaped structure, like just after the stomach. Then we have the pancreatic juice. Pancreatic juice helps in the further digestion of starch, proteins, fats, and oil. We have the pancreatic juice. It helps in the digestion of starch. It helps in the digestion of fats, not starch, fats, oil, protein, starch, fats, oil, and protein. So protein had been digested, but it will be digested further. Even oil had been digested, but the pancreatic juice will assist to digest it further. Even starch. The starch, fats, oil, and protein will be digested further upon the release of pancreatic juice within the duodenum. And within the duodenum. Now, from just the duodenum, when we go ahead, we find that our alimentary canal will lead us to an organ called the small intestine. We had said another name for small intestine is ileum. We had said small intestine in length is approximately 7 meters long and is responsible for a number of activities, as we shall see. So it is long. Small intestine is a long coiled tube of about 7 meters, and the inner walls of small intestines have glands that produce intestinal juice. So we have intestinal. It produces intestinal juice, and this intestinal juice, the enzyme is found within. There's an enzyme that is found within the intestinal juice, and the enzyme that is present in this intestinal juice is responsible for a number of things. One, it ensures that there is complete digestion of food. So in the intestinal juice assists in the digestion of food. It completes the process of digestion. It completes the process of digestion, that is this enzyme that is located within the intestinal juice. And we are saying all the carbohydrates, proteins, and fats are absorbed in the blood. So within the small intestine, the small intestine, the ileum, what they do, they enable that all the fats, all the proteins that are present and the carbohydrates that are present within the food, they are ready for absorption into the blood. Because the small intestine is well equipped with the alveoli, a lot of air sacs that are supplied very well with the blood, so that these air sacs enables these small intestines to pick enough nutrients as much as possible from the food that is present. Then we are saying the inner walls of ileum, or the inner walls of small intestines have millions of finger-like projection. They have millions of finger-like projection. These finger-like projections called the villi. There are millions of finger-like projections called the villi. These villi, they assist in the absorption of food nutrients into the small intestines, and then that are taken back to the blood streams and so forth. So the villi have very thin walls. They have very thin walls, richly supplied with network, richly supplied with the network of blood capillaries. These villi increase the surface area for food absorption. The way they are made, they are finger-like structures, and these structures, being finger-like structures, it increases the surface area so that it becomes easier for them to absorb nutrients that are located within the food. Then when we leave the small intestine, which is approximately 7 meters long, then this small intestines joins the larger intestines. So the following information is relevant for the larger intestines, and the larger intestine is what we had called another name for larger intestine is the colon. So if you remember our simple structure, we are dealing with the larger intestine, and larger intestine are big in terms of size and the diameter as compared to the small intestine. So on the when we talk of the large intestine, this is the last and wider part of the alimentary canal. So you can find that if we're talking about the alimentary canal, and then the colon or the large intestine are wide and bigger. The first part is called the colon, and on the colon it helps in the absorption of the minerals, salts, and water. So if there is any absorption from the food, if there is any minerals within the food, then it will be absorbed here in the colon, that is the large intestine. And even water, it will take a normal water and leave excess water to remain within the large intestine. But approximately correct percentage of water will be absorbed within the colon, that is the large intestine. Then from the large intestine, that is the colon, where the minerals, salt, and water is absorbed. Then the lower part, towards the end, you can remember, we had mentioned the rectum. And we had said this concerning the rectum. Rectum is towards the end. We had said this concerning the rectum. We had said the lower part, that is the rectum, this is where the indigested food materials are temporarily stored. The rectum is a place whereby the undigested food materials. Rectum is a place whereby the undigested food material, food particles are stored temporarily. They are not stored for permanently, no. They are just stored temporarily before they are ingested. Temporarily before they are removed. Before they are removed through anus in a process called digestion. In a process called digestion, correct. So this food that was started, that was brought in the mouth, the soluble particles that were able to be absorbed and the nutrients, okay. But in the digested part of these materials, they will be stored temporarily within the rectum before they are ingested out in a process called digestion. So we are saying there is something, note that, there's a point that note that when we look our diagram, in our diagram when we were showing the alimentary canal and the organs that are involved within the alimentary canal, we mentioned and we drew even the pancreas that is responsible for producing the pancreatic juice. And we had shown the liver, and we had said that the liver is responsible for producing the bile, and the bile is stored in the gallbladder. What we want you to note is the bile together, the liver together with the gallbladder and the pancreas, they are not part of the alimentary system. They are only there. Their responsibility is to produce the pancreas and the bile to assist in digestion, but it's not part of the alimentary system. We are also going to start, when we are talking about the hormones, we are going to deal with those organs again. So we are saying note that the liver and the pancreas are not part of the alimentary canal, but they're supported by producing digestive system, digestive juices. The digestive juices that the liver produces is the bile that enables it to maybe to digest the protein, and the digestive system that the pancreas produces is the pancreatic juice that also assists in the digestion, which is okay. So we need to note that we had that diagram, we had shown the liver and so forth, but that the liver and the pancreas are not part of the organs that are involved in alimentary canal, but they only support when it comes to digestion. So we want to advance to excretory system. We have seen what digestive system is. We want to touch something on what we call the excretory system, and maybe we shall define also what is excretion. What is excretion? Then we shall see the excretory system, the organs that are involved in the excretory system. Now, on the excretory system, we have a number of organs that we shall see. We shall discuss their functions and their roles, what happens and so forth. But before we go to a number of organs that are involved, we are saying it is important. It is important maybe we define what is excretion. What is excretion? We can define excretion as the removal of waste product from the body. Excretion is the removal of waste product from the body. So excretion is the removal of waste product from the body. So we shall see the many organs that are involved in this process of excretion. When we are removing the waste product from the body, what part of body organs that work to ensure there is a removal of this waste product from the body. And maybe one thing we need to realize on excretion is that waste products are released during the process of respiration. I will repeat. Waste products are removed from the body during a process called respiration. Waste products are released during the process of respiration. Are released during a process called respiration. So once we say waste products are released from the body during a process called respiration, then we ask ourselves, what is respiration? It's better we understand what is respiration. Once we are through with understanding what is respiration, then we shall continue discussing the organs that are involved in excretory system. Respiration is defined as chemical breakdown. Respiration is the chemical breakdown of food and which with the help of oxygen. So we are saying respiration is the chemical breakdown of food with the help of oxygen to release energy, carbon dioxide, and water. So we can have respiration being defined as is the chemical breakdown of food, chemical breakdown of food with the help of oxygen So oxygen gas is very important with the help of oxygen to release energy, carbon dioxide, and water. So we are saying in a nutshell that respiration is the chemical breakdown of food with the help of oxygen to release energy, carbon dioxide, and water. So when we say waste products are released during a process of called respiration, we have known what happens during respiration. That the energy that is located within the food, that is transported within the different parts of the blood cells and so forth. So when this oxygen is transported, then it is able to burn food. When the food is burned, then there is a release of carbon dioxide, energy, and water. And that water is used up in the cell, in different organs of the body. So we are saying, now excretion system, we can now continue with the excretor system. The excretor system or the excretor organs are, we want to know some of the excretor organs. Excretor organs are 1, the skin, 2, lungs, and the kidneys. So when we are dealing with the excretor organs, we shall look deeply the following organs. So I think excretor organs involves the skin. From the skin, we have said we have the lungs, and lastly, and the kidney. We know we have discussed a bit concerning the lungs. So in the excretor organ, we shall deal with the skin and deal with the kidney. We shall mention just but a few dealing with the lungs, because I remember during the gases, when we were dealing about the breathing system, we dealt with lungs, those who can recall. So we are saying the above organs, that is the skin, the lungs, and the kidney, they remove the waste products. The following are the waste products that are removed with the use of the skin, lungs, and the kidney. Whatever is removed, the first one is excess water. Excess water is removed. That's one of the waste product. One is the excess water. Two, excess salt. Excess salt is removed. And then three, we have urea. And urea, we call it also nitrogenous salt. So urea or nitrogenous salt is removed, and then we have also for this carbon dioxide. Then fifth waste product that is removed is lactic acid. Yes, fifth that's removed is the lactic acid. So in conclusion, we are saying that water, salt, urea, lactic acid form sweat. I repeat, because what happens on our pores? Our skin contains some pores. There are some small pores that are present within our skin, some openings, so that when you are sweating, you'll observe your skin and find that, yes, sweat is coming out. We are saying, what are the components of this sweat? We are saying sweat is composed of one, water. Through that water, there is salt. And in that salt, we have urea and lactic acid. So water, salt, and lactic acid form what we call sweat. In fact, if you leave that sweat to dry on you, you will find some white substances, particles. Those particles, if you taste them, they're salty. That's what we're talking, salt. And then what else is removed as waste product? We have said we have also water, urea, and salt. Water, urea, and salt, they form what we call urine. And that one, what removed this urine? That one is through the process, through the kidney. We shall see how the kidney comes up to ensure that it removes excess water, urea, and salt from the blood. We shall study the kidney. So what we are going to stop here, but in our next lesson, we shall continue with this excretal system. We know we have just mentioned the skin. We shall look the skin deeply. One, we shall see that we shall see the excretory organ that is concerned. Like for instance, if we mention the skin, we shall see if it is the excretory organ is the skin. And then we shall see what nature of the excretory waste that is removed. What is the excretory waste that is removed? For instance, if we say maybe the skin, then we shall say it deals with the water, salt, and maybe lactic acid. What about the kidney? Kidney deals with the excess water, yes, urea and salt. What about the lungs? As excretory organ here now, we shall say the lungs is there also to remove maybe carbon dioxide and water. When we shall deal with this, now we shall have a correct picture. We shall have a simple diagram of the skin. We know the skin has got two layers, the epidermis and the dermis. We shall study and see these subcutaneous glands, the hair follicles, the roles they play, where the nerves do, and so forth. Otherwise, and that is the end of our lesson today. Thank you.